What's happening? We're back with J&J's Dynasty. All right. Got to get the intro. This is for your PPR Dynasty leagues relating to, obviously, the NFL. So here we go. I'm just going to go on this video, be pretty simple. I'm going to go through basically my teams, a couple of them good, a couple of them bad. Tell you what I'm trying to do. It's week 10. Thursday night just played. The Ravens and the Dolphins just played last night. So with that being said, we've got one more full week to trade. Week 11 is the trade deadline. So it's time to finish it up. Time to get some extra draft picks for next year so you can trade some extra players or trade for some players in the offseason, depending on where they go. Take a chance on some guys who are going to be possibly or probably moving in free agency, who are going to be free agents, I should say it that way. So we'll just get to it and pull up one of my teams, which I'm in a dogfight this week, and it's a fairly decent team. So basically on this team, I've got it set up hopefully for a long run with some good talent, okay? In the last 3 weeks, I've acquired Michael Carter and Allen Robinson. So those are some of the acquisitions I made in the last 3 weeks for next year. Basically, this team, how it sits right now, I've got Josh Allen, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance. I don't like carrying 3 quarterbacks, but knowing that Trey Lance wasn't going to do anything, I had Mac Jones, I had Garoppolo until Josh Allen got passes by. So that was my thought process with that. Let Mac and Lance develop a year. This year I don't have to draft a quarterback. I still have 2 young ones. So that's what I'm going with there. So when I got this team a year ago, it was terrible. Had no running backs. It had Aaron Jones. And I did a rebuild on this team. So right now I've got Michael Carter and Leonard Fournette, Myles Gaskin. I got Darrell Henderson, but I also have Cam Akers. Okay, I got Chuba and Jeff Wilson. So not the best, but a trending younger with some upside running backs for the next couple of years. Being that when I got this team, I had 0 draft capital and I had 5 decent players. Wide receivers are young and fairly good, haven't exploded yet, but Rashad Bateman, Tyler Boyd, picked up De'Ami Brown because people are dropping him in Dynasty, and I don't know why. Before the draft, before his landing spot, people were talking about him being a top 5 receiver in this class. So I get that Washington doesn't have a dynamite quarterback right now, but several quarterbacks are going to be moving next year, and I don't know if Fitzmagic's going to be back even in, Washington. So better play than Heineke. I mean, McLaurin, De'Ami, could be, and Curtis Samuel could become dynamic next year. So I also have Jerry Jeudy. I got Terrace Marshall in the draft. Mooney, who I picked up as a free agent early last year. I just traded for Allen Robinson. I have Deebo Samuel and Adam Thielen. I've got Dalton Schultz, only tight end that I'm carrying currently in this league. I do have Robert Tonyan also in this league. So don't need to carry anything other than Schultz. Schultz has been okay all year. At this point, I'm not going to be able to upgrade for a top 5 tight end anyways. I have Tyler Bass, one of the top offenses, produces pretty well. This league is nice. I wound up getting Tampa Bay and Arizona Cardinals. So that's pretty much that team. That one I'm just pretty much standing pat and sitting still, right? So on that one, there's not a lot for me to do. I do have a couple second-round picks, so I will have the availability to move around. Let me actually see in this league. Take a quick look here. I have 2 second-round picks, 4th and 3 fifth-round picks. I was just down to 1 fifth-round pick. I had 3 fifth-round picks, got it down to 1. Now I got 3 back from a couple trades I made. So People don't like fifth round picks, but a lot of times just that little bit of extra capital, that extra line on the trade line deadline on the trade sheet is enough sometimes to tip somebody over the edge for pulling the trigger. So that's it. Oh, that's not a commercial endorsement. That's just me taking a drink because I was getting dry talking too damn much. So at any rate, but that's that. And I've got, an extra fourth round pick in 23 in this league. So I'm young. Hopefully I don't need all those picks. Hopefully I can trade them and transfer them into something good. But we will see, right? So that's where we're going with that. So let me see here. Let me get to another league here. Let me get to one. Which one do I go to? Okay. This was a startup league. And I wanted to win the division. I wound up going and targeting guys who were young but good, still had upside, but still weren't quite superstars. I've been hit by the injury bug, so I wound up making a couple trades and bettering the team, hopefully, for years to come. So, two weak spots on this team are still quarterback and tight end. So I only have Jalen Hurts and Jameis Winston. I wound up drafting Hurts and Matt Ryan in the 15th and 16th rounds of the startup, right? So I wound up picking up Jameis Winston off of the waiver wire, literally. So right now I have Gainwell, Gibson, David Johnson, Singletary, and Jeff Wilson. So I drafted Jeff Wilson very late also, knowing that he would come. So he hasn't played yet, but hopefully he's going to come on. The kicker to this team is with those running backs, I still have Cam Akers, Travis Etienne, and Darrington Evans on my IR. So add that to Gainwell, Gibson, that's a good solid start. Also, I am number 2 right now with draft choices. So I'm sitting at number 2 for the second overall slot. And there's a couple good running backs coming up here, so I will be able to add to that because this is what my wide receiver situation is currently. I've got Robbie Anderson, Rashad Bateman, A.J. Brown, Diami Brown, Cephas, Gabriel, hopefully he does something, but T. Higgins, Amari Rodgers, Deebo Samuel, Darius Slayton, and Mike Williams. So I always have 5 quality wide receivers to choose from with that list. So I'm going to have to pare it down and make some trades, but got plenty of draft capital. This league, I also have, I get picked up Anthony Frischker and CJ Uzman. And I also have Tunyon on IR on this one. But I've got the Jets kicker and the Jets defense. Now, this is the key when you're doing these PPR dynasty leagues. Like I told you, I am towards the bottom in possible points because I've had a ton of injuries. I wound up trading guys and getting guys after their bye weeks. I did this strategically so my points per game would be down, right? So what I've done, I picked up the 2 New York Jets kickers and defense because they don't score anything, right? So I'm not getting an extra 10 points a week. Well, that's an extra 60 points. That might be the difference between the 5th and the second draft spot. So that's what I'm doing on this league, right? It's also why I picked up Anthony Frischker, so I could let go of CJ Uzma. So I'm just going to keep CJ until next week, the trade deadline. If that doesn't work, boom, he's gone. Robbie Anderson, I literally just picked him up off of waivers because somebody cut him in this league. Granted, he is cuttable, but he has value. He signed there for 2 years. They just signed Cam Newton. If Cam Newton starts, if that lights the fire under Darnold and he gets going, now that Christian's back too, Robbie Anderson might be worth something. I'm just hoping he has a big week this week. I can keep him on my roster all year because all the other guys aren't going to come off the IR. So unless somebody else gets out there who's has more value than Robbie Anderson, I'm going to hang on to him and trade him in the offseason. So this is what you do. You add value, add picks, things like that to what you're doing. So, and just so for your information, I got 2 first-round picks in this league and my first-round pick. So I am going to have 2 top 14 or 3 top 14, 3 top 16 draft picks with the team that I said, right? I'm going to have minimum 3 solid running backs, possibly 4 with Gainwell. I've already got 5 solid wide receivers. I've got a couple of young ones, all right, who are going to grow hopefully this year. So once again, I need a quarterback and I need a top 5 tight end, and this team is going to be rock solid. So I've got 2 firsts, a second. I've got 3 third-round picks and a 4th-round pick this year to add to that talent. Robbie Anderson on a 3rd-round pick. What can I get? Who knows? We'll see. So I can make several moves like that. Right now, Amari Rogers, doesn't have a whole lot of value. Picked him at the end of the 2nd round. Does he still have 2nd-round value? Probably not. But depending on what happens with Adams, he could wind up being the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in Green Bay next year. Does Adams stay? Does Aaron Rodgers stay? That's something to find out, right? So reason why those are the reasons why I keep some of these guys. So it's kind of a little bit crazy what I do, but I do the stuff for a reason. Sometimes it's stupid, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, right? So, but that's what trying to do. Here is a team, and this team I bought this year. This team was the 2nd worst team in the league. This isn't a rags to riches story. This is the rags to rags story. But this is what you do, what I'm trying to do in this league, right? So when I got this team, I was immediately offered a trade for Nick Chubb in this team here. I actually have to go into the transactions to look this stuff up. I've made some insane trades in this league, right? So maybe I was going to read down the roster and tell you this, but I'm just going to start from the bottom and tell you these crazy. I'm sorry. The crazy trades that I have made in this league. So it's absolutely insane. So I bought this team middle of summer last year. This was an entry level MFL 1 PPR, right? Dynasty. $60 is a yearly fee. So not that expensive, kind of fun, but it's Dynasty, right? So I immediately got in the league, and I do not like Jarvis Landry. So I wound up getting pick 210 on a 3rd-round pick for Jarvis Landry, right? I thought that was a good price. Landry's done nothing. He's been over for a couple years. He's probably a good guy. All these guys are probably good guys. I have my take on them. That means nothing about whether they're a good guy or not. That means I just don't like them as a fantasy guy, right? So right there. So I thought, so that was my first one. I gave up Jarvis Landry. Guy offered me Jimmy Garoppolo for James White. I thought Jimmy would play all year this year, and this was right immediately after the draft. So I picked up Jimmy G for James White. Getting a lot more production out of Jimmy G than James White this year. Down the road, trade, right? 3rd trade I made starts getting interesting, right? I gave up Nick Chubb. I gave LaMichael P. Ryan, and I gave up 3.1. So I got back 2.7, Michael Gallup, and Alvin Kamara. So I got basically Kamara for Chubb. I got Michael Gallup for LaMichael P. Ryan, and I got pick 2.7 for 3.1. That's a winning trade. That's how you make your franchise better. 3 different portions to that trade. Won all 3 of them if you break it down how I broke it down. So that was that. Next one. Let's see here. Was not a good one, I don't think, for myself. Because of what I got for the pick, should have been a good pick, but I gave up Paris Campbell, Michael Gallup, Michael Pittman, Harrison Bryant, and Jay Sternberger because I was just trying to dump guys because I needed open roster spots. Knew they weren't going to do anything. Got rid of them, but I got DJ Shark, a guy who I thought was going to have a big year. I got KJ Hamler as a throw-in. I was hoping that he would take off second year, hoping Bridgewater would play and he'd be able to hit him. And I got picked 3-5. Not good value, but really the only guy this year that's done any damage that I gave up was Michael Pittman in that one. And Pittman and Shark should have been even, but they weren't. I got picked 3-5 for Michael Gallup, and Paris Campbell was a throw-in for KJ Hamler. And that's even at this point. So not the best trade. Looks terrible now, but I was hoping that Shark was going to have his big year coming in to this year, right? So going backwards now, yeah. I had Cole Kmet on my roster. Knew he wasn't going to do anything. I had Myles Gaskin on my roster, so I gave up Cole Kmet and 4.8 for Salvon Ahmed and 312. So I moved up around, basically picked up Salvon Ahmed for a handcuff just to move Cole Kmet because I knew I didn't have any faith that he was going to do anything this year. So overall, at that point, and right now, that still looks like a pretty decent deal, right? I gave up a 2023 fourth-round pick and $15 for Darius Slayton and pick 5-2. I'm hoping that 2023, that fourth-round pick is going to be 411, 412. So hopefully that winds up being a good one. Darius Slayton hasn't done anything this year. He's taken up a roster spot, but there you go. I gave up a fourth-round pick for Chris Herndon. I personally believe that if Zach Wilson is a good quarterback, watching his tape in BYU, he likes to throw, and he is comfortable, I should say, throwing to tight ends. He had a very good tight end at BYU. He used multiple tight ends a lot. So I think in the future, if he winds up being a decent NFL quarterback, Zach Wilson is going to be using a tight end. So I took a chance, hoping that if Zach Wilson was going to be like Herbert or Burrow this year, that he would be using his tight end and that Chris Herndon was going to be the guy. Obviously, hindsight, terrible, terrible, terrible deal. Wilson's not who we thought he was going to be this year for sure, maybe in the future, but Chris Herndon's now on the Vikings, not even in the same situation. So, got that, right? So that was a terrible one. Let's see here. I wound up trading $20, blind bid dollars, to a guy for 410 and 510 in last year's draft. He wasn't going to use them. This was 2 days before the draft. So I picked up a fourth and a fifth round pick for $20. I still got a bunch of money, so there you go. Got a balancing from the commish thing. So once the trade started, the thing, this guy, there's a guy in my league, probably doesn't know what he's doing. He probably should be watching my videos, but he's turned into my minor league system. A guy in the league has called him my minor league system. I had the number 2 pick. I bought the team. The reason I bought the team is because it had the number 2 pick, had Chubb, it had Fant, it had a couple other guys, McLaurin, some guys that I liked, right? He goes about and sending me this offer as he takes Michael Pitts, right? He takes Michael Pitts, number 1. I have the second overall pick. He hands me Najee Harris, right? So he turns around and sends this offer to me. Let me see, where was this here? So he gives me, remember I got that 3.5 pick before in the one deal for Shark, which I kind of lost the deal. But he wanted that he wanted that 3.5 pick. All right. So he gave me Raheem Mostert. I had Zach Wilson, or I had Jeff Wilson already. He gave me Raheem Mostert, his 2023 fourth round pick, and I knew he had a bad team already. So I figured that was going to be an early fourth round pick for 3.5. So he gave me Mostert of 2023 fourth and $100 in blind bid dollars for pick 3.5. So before I even made that, before the pick number 3 was made, I had added Najee Harris and Raheem Mostert to Jeff Wilson, who I had on my team before pick 3 was made already. And from the other trade, I already had Alvin Kamara. So I was basically planning on starting Kamara, Najee Harris and Raheem Mostert until he got hurt, or until Jeff Wilson came in when he got hurt, right? So that was a big boom, right? And then during the draft, and people don't, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you, if you're in MFL leagues, something that I did in a couple drafts this year. I wound up drafting a guy who at the time was either on COVID or already was put on the injured reserve list because he blew out his knee or whatever. Put them on the IR, and I was able to draft another guy. So I came out of the draft in a couple drafts with 20, instead of the 22 players, I had 23 players. I never did a 24th, but what I did was, in this particular league, I think when I drafted, I think that it was Daniel Carlson was on COVID, right, protocol. So when I put him down into the taxi squad, and then I gave a guy $5 for the seventh round pick, and I picked a guy, right. So when I don't know if I did in this one. Is this the one I did where I then took that pick and I traded it for a future fifth round or fourth round pick? Maybe not. So, but at any rate, that was that. So this was funny. A guy was giving me grief when I got to 312 in this draft, right? So going back to the same guy with the Najee Harris and everything, right? He had picked 3.1, and he had picked Latavius Murray. All right. I had already on my roster, I had Gus Edwards. Well, actually, no, at that point I had, because Latavius, I'm sorry, back in it was with New Orleans. I had Kamara, right? So the guy that I've talked about already previously, he's going for the worst manager of the year, but I love him because he's helping my team out immensely. He made me an offer, and I countered him, and we went back and forth a little bit, but I knew that he was one of the worst teams, and he was getting some decent players, but to help me, I wanted Latavius Murray, and he wanted Melvin Gordon, kind of a crap kind of swap, but he wanted my 312 pick. He had just drafted Latavius Murray with 3-1. So I don't know why he wanted to do this thing, but I gave him Gordon, pick 312, and my second round pick, which I figured would be a good pick this year, or I would be good, so it would be a bad second round pick this year. It may or may not happen that it's going to be that way, and I'll explain. You'll understand why later in the video here. Okay. So, but I wound up getting Latavius Murray back, so I handcuffed the New Orleans backfield. Now Latavius in Baltimore. Now he's hurt, and he was doing okay. But I got Latavius back. I got 6-1, and I got his first round pick this year back, right? Knowing that he was going to be bad, and I should be good with Mostert, now with a handcuff in New Orleans, with Najee Harris, with Gus Edwards, with Myles Gaskin. Those were my running backs, all right? So I knew that I should be good, right? I had Deshaun Watson. I was hoping that Deshaun was going to play this year. Didn't happen. But we'll keep going. So that was with the same guy, right? So after Mostert got hurt, I wound up giving him up for two fourth round picks, all right? So actually I gave up KJ Osborne, a fifth round pick, Jerick McKinnon, and 130 blind bid dollars for Raheem Mostert, a fourth round pick in 22 and a fourth round pick 23. Now the key to that trade was nothing to do with any of the players, was the $130. And the reason that was the key is because, again, this guy who gave me Najee Harris, who had given me his first round pick, had cut Russell Wilson. I used that $130 because I was able to get more money than anybody else in the league with blind bidding bucks, and I spent $2 more than the highest blind bid amount. I got Russell Wilson off of waivers. All right, think about that. The high thing, and I didn't have to even make this move, but I wanted to make sure I got him. And so this week he's supposed to be coming back off of IR, right? And this is going to be key in just a little bit in the video again. So I got Russell Wilson off of waivers for Mostert and a couple of fourth-round picks. And I gave up KJ Osborne, right? Well, I got back a couple fourth. No, I gave up Mostert, 2 fourth-round picks. I lied. So I gave up KJ Osborne and a 5th-round pick for Jerick McKinnon and $130. That's what the deal was. I was running together. So it wasn't as bad as it was. So that I thought. But the key is $130 because I want to get using that to get Russell Wilson, all right? A couple really stupid minor moves after that. But this is where it then gets interesting because now I've got Najee Harris. I've got Russell Wilson from this guy, right? I've got his 1st-round pick. I'd been picking away at him because he had Saquon Barkley. He makes me an offer. He wants his 1st-round pick back and Justin Fields in a 3rd-round pick of mine in 23 for Saquon Barkley, or in 22 for Saquon Barkley. Well, we went back and forth a couple of times. I wound up giving him Justin Fields, my 1st-round pick, and my 3rd-round pick in 23 for Saquon Barkley. So now I've added Saquon Barkley to Najee Harris and Kamara. I still have Gaskin, and I've got his 1st-round pick, which is going to be a top 3 pick, right? Now, here's where it really gets fun. I started off because of injuries, a couple stupid plays. I lost in this league by 1/10 of a point one week. Started off 0-6, won 3 straight, right? Now it's week 10. I'm supposed to win this week, right? Russell Wilson is coming back. I'm an 18-point favorite. If I win, I'm get the 4-6. In this particular league, I play the guy who I've been telling you about twice. So now I'm going to play him in weeks 11 and 12, and I should beat him. That will get me back to 6-6. And I will have Wilson starting for me, Barkley. I will have Najee Harris. I will have Kamara starting for me. I will have McLaurin as my starting wide receiver. I'll have Mooney and Kadarius Toney or Zach Pascal. Not the best, but okay. And in this league, I still have Fant, and I still have T. Higgins. So my thought process is I started off 0-6 with what I've done in this particular league. 0-6 could and should easily turn into 6-6, could turn into 7-7 or 8-6, get me into the playoffs with a chip chair and a chance, and I can be playing for money yet in this league. So that is why I do some stupid things that I do. And hopefully I said this stuff all slow enough that it can be understood. But you can rewind it. What the hell? So this is just one league when I bought it and what I've done in this league. And it seems like I've gone back to one guy. I mean, literally, a guy in this league has called him my AAA affiliate. And he sent me a message, said that he was asking me if I knew the guy, which I don't. And he was asking me, is this collusion or what? But it is not. I don't know the guy, but he's been awful generous to me. He likes who he likes. I mean, this guy has done all kinds of other dumb stuff. He drafted Pittsburgh's tight end, Little Gronk, Frymouth, drafted him at 1-9. Cut him. He drafted A.J. Green at 2.4 in a rookie draft. Cut him. He drafted Amari Rodgers mid-second round, like 2.8. Maybe it was 2.10. But he traded him for a guy who he cut. He drafted Cornell Powell, cut him. He's on a practice squad. But, I mean, he drafted Latavius Murray, wound up trading him to me, right? So this guy had he had 3 first-round picks because I think he also picked Gainwell in the first round, which was a little bit of a reach. But he had 3 first-round picks. All he's got left to show for it is Pitts and Gainwell. And on his second, he had 3 second-round picks or 2 second-round picks, and he's got nothing to show for those because he's cut everybody there. That's how you mismanage your team. You had Russell Wilson and you had Saquon Barkley. I now have them, right? For a grand total of, I gave him my first round pick, and what I just said about 2 minutes ago is I can go from the bottom of the league to in the playoffs if I win week 1 with the dominant running backs that I have, because Myles Gaskin is my 4th running back, and who is my 5th? I mean, even still, I can make the round of 4 and wind up taking that pick from being a lower first round pick, and even the second round pick that I gave him. So he's got my first and my second round pick, and I've got his first round pick. So I can have a first round pick of his that's in the top 3, and he could get pick 1-8, 1-9, or 1-9, 1-10, 1-11, or pick 2-10, 11, somewhere in there. So that's what my hope is, and we'll see how that pans out. But those are some crazy things that I've done in some leagues. So a little bit of my expertise. Don't get offended by people sending you trades. Put who they're asking for in your knowledge bank, or go back into transactions and find out who teams have asked for when you were looking to give up somebody. See if they still want them. It's a great way to go. Get something is always better than cutting them, even if it's a 4th or 5th round pick, even if it's $5, because then you don't have to make that trade to get an extra $130, so you have $20 more than everybody else, right? So that's what you have to do to do stupid things like that. And that's why you save your blind bidding dollars, so you can make a trade like that or get a guy like that. But it's just crazy because literally I had 2 first-round picks. Now I have 1, but I have Saquon Barkley. I still have a top 5 first-round pick that I'm going to get. So even if I get another running back, that will give me 4 solid another rookie running back. 4 solid running backs should push me out for 6 years with running backs. This team should be set up. I've got Gaskin. I can trade him hopefully, plus one of the picks for an additional wide receiver. I do have Shark. Actually, I never went through this roster here. So currently I have Mac Jones. I told you I have Russell Wilson. I have Deshaun Watson. So I have 2 top 5 quarterbacks when they're playing. Right? So my active roster right now, I got Barkley, Darrington Evans, Myles Gaskin, Najee Harris, Kamara, Latavius Murray, and Jeff Wilson. So all those guys are definitely roster worthy. I have Terry McLaurin, Mooney, Zach Pascal. I got Anthony Schwartz, Darius Slayton, Traquan Smith, and Kadarius Toney. I'm hoping that through after week 10 here, when I survive, that Mooney keeps coming on with Fields, who I just traded away, and they become that he becomes my good wide receiver 2 or a good wide receiver 3 at least, because of the running back depth that I'm going to have and a top 5 quarterback, right? So I've got Noah Fant and Tyler Higbee, like I said. And then I've got McManus in Cleveland, and I've got the Browns defense and the Seahawks defense. Now, like I said in the first video, the Seahawks have a fantastic matchup this week. They're going against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. So they showed nothing last week. They did wound up not getting OBJ because they didn't want to add any money to their prize pool. Wound up going to the Rams and not helping their team this year again. Nice job, Green Bay management. That's a cheers to you, Green Bay management. At any rate, but still, I still have Demeric Felton, cuttable, but Dwayne Eskridge, DJ Shark, Paris Campbell, and Gus Edwards on this team on my IR. So I do have extra chips to be able to trade in the offseason. Some young chips, because people like young chips. Some guys who are going to have some points who are okay. maybe roster worthy. If I package him with a 3rd round pick, maybe I get something for him. Maybe I don't. But this team, I'm trying to set this up so next year and the years beyond, I really don't have to do anything except make my draft pick, and that's it. So hopefully you can see what I've kind of done in some leagues. Hopefully this gives me a little bit of credibility. Yes, I took advantage of a guy who is, again, playing redraft in Dynasty. And the great part is these crazy trades that he's done, he's basically come to me. And the reason that he has come to me is because I send out trade offers inquiring about players. If you don't keep sending out trade offers periodically, you got to find the happy medium, not to bug them too much, depending on the guy. So that way, when they do get sick of a guy, you trade him. Last year in a different league, I did the same thing. I wound up getting Akers right before the trade deadline, along with Jerry Jeudy last year. I gave up my 1st round pick this year in that first league, which I am tied for 1st place in my division. I got Akers and Jerry Jeudy, and I gave up my 1st round pick for this year to the guy Akers, Jerry Jeudy for my 1st round pick this year, and Laviska Shenault and Chase Claypool. That was right at the end of when Chase Claypool was really hot and Laviska was starting to show something. How does that trade look right now? Looks pretty good. I'm going to wind up giving a late 1st round pick. At that time, I was at the bottom of the standings, so I just bought that team last year, and it took me a year to turn it. This last team I just told you about, I wound up, and with an awful lot of luck, bought it as the 2nd worst team. Hopefully, I'm going to make it run into the playoffs and make a run even this year. So I thought it would be easier than this, but a bunch of injuries, really killed me, and that's that. So if you liked this video, obviously share, obviously like the video, obviously subscribe to the channel. We'll have some more content coming. This is just a quick throw together one, just to talk about some guys, to talk about some things I've done to give a little bit of credibility about myself. And again, it's J&J, so planning on having a partner on this and going from there. So that's where we're at. I think that this video is starting to get a little bit long anyways, and we'll go from there. I will talk to you later. You have a great time, and until then, next time, take care. Peace out.